Some of the best comedy moments in television are not carefully planned months in advance. Sometimes, they happen because an actor says something unexpected, the other actors react naturally, and the writers realize they have stumbled onto something special. That is exactly what happened with one of Psych's most recognizable running jokes, the pineapple. For fans of the USA Network detective comedy, the pineapple became far more than just a piece of fruit. It turned into a symbol of the series itself, appearing in episodes, promotional material, jokes, and even becoming part of the show's identity. But what makes the story even more entertaining is that the joke reportedly began with a simple improvised line during the pilot episode. When Psych premiered in 2006, viewers were introduced to Sean Spencer, a highly observant man who possesses an extraordinary ability to notice tiny details. Instead of admitting that he had developed his skills through years of observation and memory, Sean convinces the police that he is a psychic. Alongside his best friend Gus, he begins solving complicated cases while constantly getting himself into ridiculous situations. The show immediately established a playful tone. Sean was quick with jokes, constantly distracted, and seemingly incapable of entering a room without making some kind of strange observation. The chemistry between Sean and Gus became the heart of the series. And the writers were always looking for small details that could make their friendship and adventures even funnier. During the pilot, one of those details involved a pineapple. The famous moment was not originally designed to become a major part of the series. Instead, it came from an improvised line. The joke was simple, almost throwaway, but it caught the attention of the people working on the show. Rather than disappearing after the pilot, the pineapple gag returned again and again. That is one of the reasons the joke became so beloved. It did not feel like something that had been forced into every episode from the beginning. It grew naturally from the show's comedic personality. As Psych continued, viewers began looking for pineapples almost like they were participating in a secret game. A pineapple might appear sitting on a table, in a kitchen, at a workplace, or somewhere else in the background. Sometimes it was obvious. Other times, fans had to pay attention to spot it. The running gag eventually became one of the show's traditions. For Sean, the pineapple also made perfect sense because the character had a unique way of turning ordinary things into comedy. He could walk into a serious situation and immediately find something completely ridiculous to comment on. The contrast between his childish humor and his remarkable observational abilities helped make him such a memorable television detective. Gus, meanwhile, often served as the voice of reason. His reactions made Sean's behavior even funnier. Whenever Sean became obsessed with a ridiculous idea, Gus would frequently be the person trying to bring him back to reality. That dynamic helped the pineapple joke work so well. It was never simply about fruit. It became another example of the strange world Sean and Gus shared. Over time, the pineapple became so closely associated with Psych that fans began treating it as an unofficial mascot of the series. It appeared outside the fictional world of the show as well, becoming part of merchandise, fan culture, promotional material, and discussions surrounding the series. What began as an improvised moment during the pilot had transformed into something much bigger. The story also highlights an important part of television comedy. Not every great joke begins in a writer's room. Sometimes, actors discover something while filming. A spontaneous line can create a reaction that nobody expected, and if that reaction feels genuine, the creative team can decide to build on it. That kind of spontaneity was especially appropriate for Psych, a show that depended heavily on the chemistry between its characters. Sean and Gus were constantly bouncing jokes off each other, and many of the show's funniest moments came from their unpredictable conversations. The pineapple became a perfect representation of that spirit. It was silly, unexpected, and completely unnecessary to solving a murder mystery, which was precisely why it worked. A serious detective show might focus entirely on clues, suspects, evidence, and dramatic revelations. Psych deliberately mixed those elements with absurd humor. The pineapple was one of the simplest ways the series reminded viewers not to take everything too seriously. Even years after the show's original run, fans continued to recognize the pineapple as an immediate reference to Psych. It became one of those television details that could bring back memories of the entire series with a single image. There is also something satisfying about knowing that the joke was never supposed to be as important as it eventually became. It demonstrates how audiences can transform a small creative decision into a major part of a show's legacy. The pineapple did not need an elaborate backstory. It did not need to drive an entire storyline. It simply needed to be funny, and because Psych understood its audience, the writers and performers allowed the joke to grow. What started with an improvised line became a recurring tradition that encouraged fans to pay attention to the background and enjoy the little details. In a series built around noticing things other people miss, having viewers search for hidden pineapples was almost perfectly on theme. That may be the biggest reason the joke has lasted. Psych was always about observation. Sean noticed tiny details that everyone else overlooked, and viewers eventually learned to do the same thing with the show itself. The pineapple became a reward for paying attention, a small visual joke that could make an episode even more enjoyable. In the end, the running pineapple gag is a reminder that some of television's most memorable traditions can begin in the most unexpected ways. A single improvised line in a pilot episode might seem insignificant at first, but with the right cast, writers, and audience, it can become part of a show's identity. For Psych, the pineapple was never just a pineapple, it became a symbol of Sean and Gus's ridiculous friendship. The show's playful sense of humor, and the creative freedom that made this series so distinctive, and perhaps that is exactly what makes the story behind the joke so fitting. A show about a fake psychic solving crimes somehow turned an ordinary pineapple into one of its most recognizable trademarks, all because someone decided, in the moment, to say something funny.